Hello, I'm Brian and welcome to our urban citrus grove. Today I'm going to give you a tour of the varieties that we grow, and one thing to highlight is that you'll see lots of different varieties, and the practical aspect of that is to get succession harvests. In other words, if you have one tree that produces a lot, you're going to be overwhelmed with fruit, and once you're done with fruit, you're done for that period until it gives you another harvest. So by having succession, we have smaller trees, different varieties that ripen it or mature, in this case, at different times of the year. That way we can prolong our enjoyment of citrus. The other thing is that we grow here in Southern California, practically a stone's throw away from downtown Los Angeles. And our climate is coastal plain, where we have the ocean about 20 minutes to our south. And our climate is mild, and also we have just enough heat to sweeten our summer citrus, things like Valencias. But for the most part, we can grow many varieties of citrus, especially more the modern day citrus varieties that are more geared towards Northern California, the climate where it's cooler. And so we can grow quite a range of citrus here, if not all of them. So I'm going to start off with our navel orange that's right to our left here, and it is the Robertson's navel orange. So let me take you over there. So we just swing this around, and we got probably 3 fruit left. We've been enjoying them, and this is a navel orange that matures in late December. So that's the other thing that you'll see, is that I like to get citrus that are not the commercial kind, so we can get our citrus early. The commercial kinds, you can get quite a few of them for a pretty good price at the market when it's in season. So this one is our late lane, and let's see here. Here we go. Let's peel it together. This is a new camera for me, and I hope that we can get good shots with it. And I'm putting the subject in frame, and in this case, our orange. So I'm gonna score it here. There are citrus peelers that do the scoring, and my wife's using it. So we need to get another one. We're getting a lot of rain this year, 2026-25. It's a La Nina year. So we're getting a lot of rain. We got a lot of rain in December, and today it's raining again. So what I like about this variety is that, again, it matures in December. With La Nina, it matured early December. One thing about this tree, the downside is the fruit clusters. So when it clusters, you can get different sizes, so you might have to come in and thin out the fruit. Like for instance here, you got a really small one right here. So this tree, we haven't done any kind of thinning because this is a dwarf tree. We don't want it too big. Again, we don't want to produce too much fruit, and in an urban lot, space is a big issue for many growers, so we want to get small trees. And you'll see later on in this video, we'll also have grafting different varieties onto trees to maximize our space. So here's, I don't know if you can see me. I'm pretty sure you can. So here's the Robertson. If I call it late lane, I'm thinking about another one that we have. So Robertson, let's give it a taste test. It was very good this year. It's sweet. So again, the downside of this variety is that it requires a lot of management. So you're not going to see this variety commercially. The fruit has to be thinned, and then all the foliage grows in pretty thick. So you have to do a lot of pruning to make sure that it gets the air that it needs. At least with my experience of this tree, I've only seen this tree and experienced it personally. Maybe a different tree grows differently. Maybe it grows regularly. You don't have to prune it as much. So that's the Robertson's navel orange. And we'll swing that way and start looking at the blood oranges. Okay, I had to enjoy the rest of that orange. It was very sweet. I couldn't let it go to waste because my plan was just to take a bite and just kind of, you know, sacrifice the orange and leave it for the compost. So here we have, let me take this off the tripod. We'll go take a closer look at it together. So over here we have a couple of varieties of blood oranges. This one is the Tarocco blood orange. And this tree I purchased as a rescue tree, and this is probably something I won't do in the future, rescue fruit trees. Nonetheless, it gives us fruit. It's not as a robust tree as it can be. So here's a fruit here. They're smaller because it's been struggling. This is Tarocco, and this year it's very sweet. So let me put this camera back on the tripod here, and this year we can peel the fruit. One struggle for the citrus has been that during the summer it's been dry, and then we got that winter dump of rain, and what happened was it started to split the fruit. So that big delta, that big change, the tree was not expecting the moisture, and then suddenly there was, and the tree was not set up for it. It didn't. So that's the Tarocco. Let me just cut into it and give you a cross section. It's very, very sweet this year. And on my channel, there's a video where I do the juicing demo, and you can blend the different varieties of blood oranges together. All right, so let me get in there and grab the Sanguinelli. All right, I'm gonna give you some B-roll of the tree in a second here. So this is Sanguinelli, and this one is more tart, has more of the anthocyanins. So this is good for mixing, into juices or other things. So it's got a lot of the healthy aspects of the fruit. This is the northern part of our property. So the fruit trees are over here to get more sunlight. And then just beyond our two blood oranges, this is a Sudachi Mandarin. This is a sour type of mandarin, similar to yuzu, used in Japanese culture. We grow this as a novelty plant, and I was hoping to be able to supply and share this fruit with people in this area that might be familiar with it. So this is this fruit is late fall, so it's now dry. Let's look at it together. So it's completely dry now, but when it's yellow is when you're gonna use the fruit. And then when we swing around this way, there is this Oro Blanco tree here. Let's come back. Let's go around this way and get a better look at the tree. So I've got my rain barrels here. These are 200-gallon rain barrels that are here temporarily so that we can use the water we collected during the December rain event. Let me take this camera off the tripod. Here we go. So the Oro Blanco is a cross between a pomelo and a grapefruit, and I think it's a very good invention. The fruit's much smaller this year, way smaller. Normally they're double the size. I think it's a great invention because It peels easily like a grapefruit. Pomelo can be notoriously difficult to peel, but then it has the pomelo qualities. So it's not very sour. It's got that floral flavor in a pomelo. So when you eat oranges, oranges are a cross between pomelos and mandarins, and that's what you get, that nice citrus flavor. It comes primarily from the pomelo. But the downside with pomelo is they're hard to peel. There's a lot of membrane. It's more of an eating citrus, so they're not as popular because there's more work to enjoy them. With the Oro Blanco, it's easier to peel all around, very juicy too. The other aspect of pomelo is that it tends to be drier, which is also a positive trait. The inside, the pulp, they tend to be drier. And if you're curious, this is a sapote tree here. We got some fruit. I've yet to enjoy it actually, because the rodents like to get them, so I need to remember to get them before they do. And we don't have too many issues with rodents other than the occasional taking of the sapote and the orange, the apples. All right, let's go to the front where we have some lemons and other citrus growing out there. Let's go out here. This is also where we grow our vegetables. This one is a lemon tree. It's a Genoa lemon, and I enjoy cooking Italian food, and I like to have the novelty of having some more authentic ingredients. So this tree produces various sizes of them. This is probably average size, and then sometimes they can get quite big. The other variety that's very common in Italy, I've yet to visit that country actually, is the Santa Teresa lemon. And so I grafted this lemon last year. Here's the new graft here. This is where the new graft occurred, and then we have the foliage, and now it's making buds. So we're going to be very excited for the fruit. So very productive tree. And then when we go across this way, we have a couple of trees over here, and one of them is a tree that produces the Vietnamese variety Bantan, also known as the King Mandarin, and the graft is on a lemon, so it comes here, and then this portion is the kamsa. It made a lot of fruit last year, and it is taking a break, so we don't have any fruit to show you on this tree. And then the main tree is actually a pink lemonade lemon. So we get a good amount of fruit, and also it bears year round, which is nice. It starts off variegated like this, and as the fruit matures, it will turn more yellow. Sometimes there's no variegated patterns, and sometimes the fruit just turns completely yellow, like over there. And then last year I attempted to graft a variegated cara onto this. One thing I learned from last year's experience is that the thickness of the budwood, when it's thin like this, spaghetti thin, fettuccine thin, it's very difficult. So the thicker ones you may see in the video from last year's results of last year's grafting, the ones that are pencil thick are better. So that's something that I know to look for next time. Here is another citrus tree. This is another dwarf tree, and on here, I have to get my notes because I always forget how to pronounce it. This is a, here we go. This is a this is Italian, so pardon my butchering. It's a Sanguinelli. It's basically a vanilla blood orange. Although this is not technically a blood orange because the pigments is not from anthocyanins, it's from lycopene. So that's stuff that you find in tomatoes. So let's pick this. And again, this is gonna, if you're interested in juicing these, the juicing video, I have a dedicated video where we collected a bunch of blood oranges and juiced them. And then I grafted in 2020 this other blood orange, and it's not a commercial one. It's a Sanguinelli, a Pignu, and the reason is because it's a very finicky variety. We got a lot of the fasciation, the wonky growth that I had to keep pruning back, and then the fruit. This year we finally got fruit this year, a couple of them. They actually split. I was able to try some. They weren't sweet yet, so there's fruit for next year. So maybe next year you and I on YouTube can taste test this together. So finally the tree, after, this is I guess year 6 now, starting to put some good looking growth. So that's that tree. And we are at the southernmost portion of our property where we have these trees here so that they can get proper sunlight. Let's see here. Let me get to the side here where we have another citrus tree, and this is yuzu, and it has some fruit here. This is past its prime now, so if anything we would use the peel for cooking, but there's very little juice. Maybe marmalade. We made some marmalade years ago on YouTube. Years ago. It's a very old video. All right, let's head back. We could continue going that way, the southernmost portion, but I'm gonna grab the fruit here and I'll just do a cross-section cut for you on the video. All right, let's grab this one, the vanilla one, and then our pink lemonade. All right, let's head back. Find our, whoops, can't squeeze through there today. All right, let's find our tripod, affix this camera on there, and give you a look at the cross section of these guys. The Genoa lemon is a Genoa lemon, so it's basically your typical lemon, your old school Eureka style lemon. So we're gonna skip on that in the interest of time. All right, I got this thing back on. Let's find a good place to work. I think I'll use this rain barrel as a place to set the fruit. Okay, here we go. Let's start with yuzu here. Again, this is a late fall fruit, so there may not be juice. And when they're at their peak, they're probably half the size. It's just swollen up with the pith here. So this is what the yuzu looks like, and it's getting very popular as far as a culinary item to purchase. These are like $4 each at the market. They're hard to import because of citrus disease issues and legacy citrus growing protections. They're hard to import. They have to go through stringent checks. And so Japan produces a lot. It's used very commonly in their culture, but they can't get it over here. But I've seen videos where people are actually growing them in California. There's a yuzu grove that they've established. So here's the pink lemonade. This is my utility knife. It's not good for slicing through fruit. It's great because it's got a nice holster. I can get this knife in and out quickly. It's pink lemonade. And the color is from lycopene. So speaking of lycopene, we got this vanilla Sanguinelli, and its color is also from lycopene. A quick note, this is a pink lemonade. It is a sport, otherwise known as a mutation found off a Eureka lemon. Okay, and let's cut into this. This this vanilla Sanguinelli is an acidless fruit, and it is best to mix with juice because it's got a very insipid flavor. It's very muted. It's very confusing. But I suppose if you eat this often enough, you'll acclimate to it, and the flavor is not odd. But here, let's get in front of the camera here. Let's give you a reaction to this. I don't know if you can see me. Yeah, tastes like cough syrup by itself. Really tastes like medicine. Has that, again, has that very tropical taste, like a pineapple. And in the video where I juice it and test it, I always wonder if it's the color that makes me think of that. But here I'm seeing less of that juice and color, and I'm always reminded of this flavor. So yeah, great for mixing. Not very good to eat by itself. All right, let's continue to the back where we have more citrus. If you're still watching, you really like citrus, so we have more. Let's go. All right, let's once again pass our Robertson navel, and we're getting to the backyard. Pardon the mess. This is a backyard that's a work in progress. I'm working on creating growing area, and so time is a compounding thing. If I can get some area started, the soil's building gets better, so I put more of my efforts towards there than some of the organization. The other thing that we may do a tour of later on are succession avocados. Like there's a Gwen here. We have succession peaches. This is a nectarine tree that's back there that I finally got a nectarine. So ironically, I love nectarines as a child, but as an adult, I enjoy peaches. So we have different varieties of peaches. So up there is a Valencia orange, and that's your summer juicing orange. Let me set this down here. So there's a lot of staircases like your olden day cultures, the Babylonians, I would guess the Pueblos. So let me go up there and bring one down for you, and maybe I'll give you some B-roll of the tree. It's this is a summer juicing orange, so I wonder if it's actually sweet, because the fruit's been hanging on there for a while, and I've just been curious. So we'll just test this together. This knife is not really good for this. I'm gonna cut myself because it's more of a bushcraft knife, so it's got a very thick kerf, and it's not really good for slicing through fruit. Especially since I'm not used to slicing fruit this way. I'm more of a cutting board chef kind of person. So here's a Valencia. Let's try some of the juice. See if it's actually sweet. Nope, very tart. Great for making for marinating some carne asada. All right, this thing's starting to get very juicy. Let me grab my towel. We'll wipe it off and we'll continue on. So this tree is a standard size rootstock, and it's one of the first ones I planted, and we've been here for, gosh, how many years now? 13 years maybe? One thing I discovered is that in the clay, it takes a long time for the soil to develop. So now in hindsight, I would fertilize it. Any tree I plant, I would fertilize it regularly, because that soil just takes forever. All right, we have another set of stairs. These are terraces that I finally put in last year, and carried them up block by block, and that required me having to move one of the trees, so we're not gonna get fruit from them this year. So let's go up there together. And the fruit that we're not going to get this year is the Shasta Gold. And I did a video, I think dedicated video about that variety last year because we got some fruit. And I was excited to see how it would taste as it matures. Okay, so this is, let me set this right. See if we have to lower it. I'm trying to get myself in there for you. This tree right here is an Algerian Mandarin. Actually, I would consider this a Clementine or Tangerine. And then the one on the left here, this little tiny one, it was actually growing, I think, kind of right there. And the way the terraces were working, I had to move the tree. So I dug it up and moved it. Citrus are pretty hardy. So if you have most of the roots intact, you can move it. It only gets tricky when they're big, but this one is the trunk is the girth of my thumb, so it was easy to move. But we shocked it a little bit, so we have to wait for it to grow in, and hopefully this year it'll fruit. I'm pretty sure it will. So back to this one. This is the Algerian Clementine, and it normally matures a little bit later, but this year, again, El Nino, warmer. Let's get in there and see if we can get the fruit for you. I can't tell if I'm in the frame or not, so you might just get the bottom part of my body. So over here is bare because it's easy to access and get the fruit. On the other side, there's fruit. All right, we got one. Let's bring it back to the camera for you to see. So one quality of mandarins is how easy they can be peeled. And the other quality are seeds. Modern varieties like the Shasta Golds are naturally seedless. Older varieties like these, they have to net the plant when the tree is blossoming so that the bees and other pollinators don't pollinate the flower. Because if they do, you get seeds. And I don't think that seeds are generally a bad thing. I think that they force you to savor. So you have to pause, and then when you pause, if you think about what you're eating, you get to savor the flavor. And I think that's the best way to enjoy fruit. I took a really big bite, not a YouTube video bite. Very sweet, good flavor, and this is a dual purpose type of mandarin. If you catch it early enough in the season, it's great for juicing. So if it's difficult to peel, that means it's got a lot of juice. As the mandarins mature, they start to dry out a little bit. The peel comes off very easily, but then the fruit, some of that water just gets sucked out. So we got some seeds here. So this is also a dwarf tree, and it is, as you can see, a great producer and not very big. And we like to keep it this size because if we get too much, it's difficult to eat. And then to share it is also a nice thing too. But the people that appreciate are kind of far away, so we want to keep our trees a little bit smaller. And then again, on my right here is the Shasta Gold, and I'm gonna finish this. We'll do a B-roll of the Shasta Gold, and then we'll move along towards the back where we have some citrus trees. Before we head up, there is this other mandarin that I want to show you real quick to just kind of give you a relative location to where things are. We'll eventually get down there and look at them together. And then I almost forgot to show you the graph that I put on this year of another mandarin. This is Fremont. And notice the size of the graft, or I should say the budwood here. It's a pretty good thickness, and the Fremont, I put the grafts on many trees, and it was very active. It took on many trees, but the growth has been kind of slow. So we'll look at them if I can remember to show you the graft on them. I also put some gold nugget grafts on here on this tree last year, and it didn't take. So I think the gold nuggets, some of the budwood that they sent, they were very thin. So I think I was set up for failure, especially since I'm intermediate. I bet if I was like a superstar grafter, I would be able to do it, but since I'm only intermediate, I really need help with the better budwood. And maybe the thin budwoods is for bud grafting, not scion budwood grafting. So here is our Boukhobza blood orange tree, and it finally got planted this year. It's been in a container for many years, longer than it should have, but I was finally able to terrace this portion of our property. This is the northeast portion, and the Boukhobza is a nice winter juicing orange, just like the Tarocco. It can be a good juicing orange, but the Boukhobza, in my experience, has been very consistent with its sweetness. We have 2 fruit that stuck, and then there's some more fruit on the way, but again, it's been a little bit stunted. I hope I didn't stunt the whole tree altogether by keeping it in the pot for that long. So we'll see. The actual blood orange portion, the Boukhobza, has been grafted on the Eureka portion of the graft. So on the north side, you'll see a Eureka lemon right there. So let's pick this together. It may not be as juicy because it's the rind is very, when I feel the fruit, it's got a lot of dimples, feels kind of thick. So we'll see. I'm going to juice it later in the video. I want to enjoy this. If this is, we'll probably take it inside so that I can enjoy the fruit rather than cut it and then have to discard it. So hopefully this will look better after it establishes itself this year. And I've put a good amount of citrus fertilizer around. So that's what I use this synthetic kind because it's more economical, and there are cases where synthetic is more economical and better all overall, but that's for a different day to argue about with people if they do want to argue. This is also another terrace area. This portion was completed early last year, and then this whole portion was done recently in the this past December. So I terraced all that, and I started this back corner because this is our northern corner where we get sunlight. So this is what we need for fruit trees. And then we recently acquired and planted this Ester avocado. This is another variegated citrus. It's the variegated calamandan, also known as a calamansi. And this is recovering because one year when I went, usually we go camping in July, which is super hot, and I had irrigation set up like this, except there was some issue and the plant didn't get water, so it died back, and luckily there was still a portion of the calamansi left on this graft to grow back. Otherwise we would have lost the whole tree. So you can see on this graft union, this is where we went down to the last possible bit. See that diagonal? That's where everything above that. And from there, a bud grew out, and we were able to save this tree and keep it going. Otherwise, we would have to acquire a different one. So it's a nice, I like variegated trees. And since calamandan is not a plant that we need a lot of fruit from, getting a variegated one will add nice ornamental appeal to it. When you have variegated leaves, you have less of the chlorophyll, you have less of the photosynthesis, the energy that it gets from the sun to make fruit and all that stuff, and growth. But again, the calamandan, we would use it as a juice. It's a sour fruit. It's not a eating fruit, so we would use it as a juice. So we don't need a lot of fruit. And the best way I like to have it is with sugarcane juice. So if you ever go and see them press sugarcane juice, they'll throw in a little tiny calamandan in there to add a little bit of citrus flavor. All right, we have, let's see, we have another Mandarin over there. I would call it a Tangerine, and it is Murcott. And I don't know if you can see, maybe I can use a zoom in video editing, but it's over there. And that tree has finally fruited because we have an Atamoya that was growing, and I planted it near there. And the Atamoya, I didn't expect it to grow so quickly, actually started shading the tree, so I had to move it, I would say 10 feet up the slope where it's got more sun, and we got fruit now. So let me set this tripod down so you can see its relative location, and then we'll go up there and get the fruit. All right, let's make our way over there. It's a little bit slippery today. Here it is, the Murcott. It's one of the older varieties of tangerines, and I'm guessing it's derived from the Kamsa plant or the variety because it has very similar characteristics. It is one that I would use for juicing. Tangerine juice has a nice quality to it, but you can eat it you can enjoy it as an eating fruit. And it's been a while since this tree produced, so I'm pretty excited. It's been a while, and we're gonna have it together for the first time since I've had it. Yeah, it's just as I remembered it. So it's got more tartness. It's not really ready. It's more of a, I think, February fruit, usually around Lunar New Year. So let me see. Down there we have the Satsuma, that's December. And then we got the Clementine, which is around January, February. Then we got the Murcott. And I can't remember if Shasta Gold is closer to late February, March. And then we also have the actual Kamsa variety, and that's also mid-late February-ish. So that's your succession growing. So while I finish this off, I will give you some B-roll of us walking over there to get the Mandarin. So as far as terracing, I've stopped here for a couple of reasons. Cost of buying blocks, and then also to take a break, because these are around 60 pounds each, and to work continuously can be a strain on the body. You're starting to break things across the threshold. So we're going to get to an unofficial path that I've made with trimmings. So when we clear back some of the growth, the trees, to get sunlight down here, do a chop and drop, and created this path here. And it's a little bit wet from the rain, so it could be a little bit slippery. So I'm gonna go there very gingerly. There's a fire truck. There's a fire truck going by, so I don't know if the lav mic picked it up. So if it did, apologize if it's jarring. All right, let's go over there. Got to be super careful here. This is something that I put here. I chopped and dropped recently, so let me clear it out of the way, because it's actually a little bit of a tripping hazard. Okay, here's our tree. We have some San Marzanos that are coming up. Again, La Nina, warm winter, and we still have some growth from the tomato plant. It doesn't have any pest disease like spider mites, so we left it, and there's some fruit on there as well. I don't know if you can see, there's a bigger one right there. But anyways, back to this citrus tree here. Here's our Murcott tangerine, and I would call it a tangerine because it's more difficult to peel and it's more juicy. There's different naming conventions. Tangerines is from the Tangers, and then you have clementines from the Clementines, because they worked with this type of citrus. But for me, I like to think of a tangerine as something that is for juicing, again, harder to peel, denser flesh. So this is what I would consider a tangerine as opposed to a mandarin. I guess the other thing that would designate a tangerine is that the amount of heat it needs to produce before it produce nice sweet fruit. So that's another quality. So tangerines, I would say, need heat to do well for the fruit. They'll do well in any climate that doesn't freeze over, but as far as fruit quality, it needs heat. That's why Florida does a lot of the citrus like tangerines over there. All right, I'm looking at some grafts that I put over here and they never took. And I kind of left it here because I wanted to do a graft update. So this is kind of it right here. And this is a semi-dwarf rootstock down there. So the rain's starting to pick up, but it should be okay. And then here's our Atamoya tree. And then if you can imagine this Murcott was down there in that now understory. So it had to be moved up here. And then eventually, if we get around to terracing it, this area will be more easily accessible. All right, let's start to head back down and we'll continue on our citrus grove tour. Let's continue down off the slope where we have a couple of citrus trees, or some more citrus trees, I should say, that we planted some years ago because this is where it's accessible, and some more recently. This is another navel orange that I almost never show because it hasn't fruited yet. This is Late Lane. It's an Australian developed variety, and earlier to start off the video, I talk about varieties that we grow kind of outside the market variety so that we can get citrus sooner and later and then at a better price. So here's fruit that it's making. And the reason it doesn't get a lot of, hasn't fruited is because to the south, you have a lot of things that are obstructing this tree from getting the sunlight that it needs. The Atamoya right there, and then the red Baron peach is getting taller and taller. I actually recently cut back a mulberry that was quite tall. I had a dilemma. Do I cut back the mulberry? And finally did it. I did that recently. So this is our Late Lane, and I attempted to graft a Washington navel on here last late spring, and it didn't take. So I think I'm going to try again this year. Hopefully they'll send good budwood this year, thicker ones. Washington navel is the one that is grown commercially, and that one, it's easy to get, and when it matures, it's plentiful. It's usually on sale. So I want to get that variety in here because it's a significant variety to the citrus industry, and collecting citrus is something that I enjoy doing. So this is also collection, and then also a pragmatic fruit. Got some blocks that are set up. I'm starting to terrace this back corner here, also to stabilize it. For the longest time I had lumber and they started to rot, so now I'm using the blocks. And here is our Atamoya tree, just real quick. Here's the fruit. This is about average size for our fruit. Occasionally there'll be one that's double the size. Some will be really small. I don't hand pollinate, that's why I don't get a lot of fruit. And my brother grafted a different variety on here. That might be African Pride, where there's a plant tag there I put there to help me identify so that I don't accidentally prune it. And speaking of, I did a really big pruning a couple weeks ago because this tree was enveloping this whole entire space. Lots of chop and drop down here. So here is another blood orange. This is Moro blood orange, and if you're looking for a blood orange variety grow, this would probably be your standard one to grow because it's very pragmatic. But at the same time, this is the variety you're going to find at farmers markets and nowadays at the market. So if you're looking for a novelty variety, maybe stick with Tarocco or Sanguinelli. But here's a blood orange, and this tree does alternate bearing. So the previous year, it produced a lot of fruit, and then this year we have almost no fruit. And I'm betting that it's ready to eat now. So this is going to be, there's a spider. This is going to be our harvest together because I have not tried it, tried this blood orange yet. And let's see, I think it's oftentimes very peelable. So I'll try to peel it together with you on camera. But I'm going to swing on this way to show you. Let's see, I think we have 2 more citrus trees left to show you. Some more peaches of different successions. This is a desert gold, I believe, and it matures much sooner in May. That's why the buds are starting to flower. We have a couple more varieties of avocado. Let's see how we get there. I'm doing repair of our pasture because the chickens and ducks have really got at it. The ironic thing is, once you fence off some place, you actually have less area for them to graze, and then they put more pressure on an area, and then it's like, what's the phrase? I don't know. Chasing cats, putting a bell on a cat. You're just running back and forth like a chicken without a head on to fix the pasture. So I think I'm going to get some turf and just lay it down because I've discovered it takes a long time to grow grass from seed, and the grass has to really establish. Otherwise, the chickens pull the whole entire plant up. Anyways, here we have the bear's lime. So this is the first citrus tree that I would get as someone who enjoys Asian and Mexican cuisine. And here, we're at the end of the season now, so we get some stragglers. And when you buy limes, the skin has to be nice and smooth like this. If they're bumpy, as you've seen some comments in this video, it means that there's not a lot of juice in there. So that means they picked it early just to get it to the market. So one nice thing about growing your own is you have a nice supply of really good limes. And then when they're at the end of the season, they turn yellow like that over there, and they have a different quality to them. I prefer the green quality because as they get yellow, they get more citrus florally, like the pomelo. It changes the quality. So that's the bear's lime. And then over here is, let me set this fruit that I have in my hand so I can reach in there and show you. This is the finger lime. This is an Australian finger lime, and most of the citrus that you know of are from China, the Himalayas, so Asia. There is actually citrus in Oceania, Papua New Guinea, and that area. And so this is what they look like. The leaves are much different. You can see how small they are. They're very thorny, and then they're very brambly. So the finger lime is going to cost more because it's difficult to harvest. I'm getting poked. Let me see if I can get in there. Let's get, oh, that big one is too hard to get right now. So let's see, here it is. And this is normally double the size, so I'm thinking it's not in season right now. But let's see if we can crack it open with one hand. Nope, we're gonna have to cut this. So we'll put this camera on the tripod. And then as far as relative location, at the end over there is where we started, or where we are at one point where our yuzu citrus was at. And it's got the other thing I'm noticing, there's a lot of oils coming off the fruit here. I can smell it. It's got a very strong citrus oil. It's got, what does that smell? What does that smell? I can't even describe it right now. I have to think about it. Okay, there's our tripod, but let me take you to show you another citrus that I always never show because I always forget it, and I almost forgot it today. And speaking of almost forgot, I almost forgot to show you our Satsuma. So we'll go down there and show you that, but in a second. First, we'll show you this citrus that I grow ornamentally. So this is Flying Dragon, and the Flying Dragon is used as a rootstock for dwarfing. So some of our varieties are on this rootstock, and you can tell when you look at the thickness of the trunk, it doesn't have a bulge. It's got this nice even thickness. So there's the rootstock, and it's got a really nice form. It's called Flying Dragon because in certain angles, I hope you can see on the camera, it looks like a dragon going through. And it's more deciduous, meaning when it gets cold, it'll drop its leaves. So it's in its winter state right now. A lot of the leaves have dropped. Normally it's bare, but again, La Nina, you could turn that into, you can save this video, turn it into a drinking game with your friends. Drink every time you hear me say La Nina. So it's been warmer because of La Nina, and a good number of foliage have stuck around. So that's Flying Dragon. This one is growing organically, meaning I'm letting it grow as it is. And then here's one that I tried to use as a rootstock. Let's bring it closer here. So I've tried to use this as a rootstock, and you see where it failed. I cut it off, and then it's growing another section, so it doesn't look as handsome as the other plant. So this is Flying Dragon rootstock. Over there, that again, our Valencia, you can see the trunk. You see how there's a bulge down there? That is probably the C35 rootstock. And there's a dwarfing technique where they will just kind of like they'll graft it in such a way that the scion is closer to the rootstock. That's where you get the dwarfing, more of a dwarf height of the tree than a more true dwarf, like putting it on the Flying Dragon. So this is a semi-dwarf. You can see that section between the rootstock and where the tree branches. I can see probably a good 2 feet. So they call that semi-dwarf. And then the other way to dwarf it is just to move it much lower. Kind of like what I do with these peach trees, where I chop you take the tree, normally they take off 2/3. Sometimes I go much lower because I want a shorter tree. All right, we kind of digressed a little bit. Hopefully this is good information for you to take in. Here is the Satsuma Mandarin. I taste tested it yesterday, and surprisingly, it's still juicy and it's nice and sweet. So this is how easy it peels. So it's available. It matures in December. I can peel it one-handed. We won't need the tripod. We won't have to wait for the tripod. And it's, for the most part, seedless, so it's more closer towards natural seedlessness. Nice and sweet and juicy. This one is the Fremont graft, and it's very similar as far as the rate of growth. It's kind of slow compared to the lemon. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4 buds on this graft, and it pushed out here. So what I would normally do now is I would snip this portion, the top portion off, let it concentrate on making the growth right there. So I haven't done that because I've been saving it for a video where I was going to update the grafting that I did from, I think, was it May of 2025? So I may not do that, and we'll just snip it. So if some of our citrus fans are going to be here and see this video too that are interested in that information. So so that's that. All right, let's go. Let's see if we can set this camera down somewhere, and we'll try this. Let's see, can we set it here? I think so. Our ginger's in the way. Let's go. All right, let's see. New camera, Just still getting used to it. All right, let's see. This is the blood orange, the Moro. Did I lose our finger lime in the process of getting over here? Did I stuff it in my pocket? Oh no. I'm gonna have to harvest another one for you. Or did I set it over there? Let's see here. I'll do some magic. See if it's in here. Nope. I'm gonna fail as a magician. All right, maybe some TV magic. We'll do some TV magic later on. But first, let's get to this Moro blood orange. All right. As I'm peeling it, I'm gonna think about how do I frame the TV magic of getting that, picking another finger lime, and then doing TV magic and having it look as smooth as possible. I don't know. I have to think about that. All right, I'm gonna score this just to help it along. There are tools for citrus scoring, and the problem is that they're easy to lose because they're really small. So we had 2, and now we're down to 1, and my wife's using it today because I normally get some citrus for her, and she's been eating the Robertson's navel orange, and now she can enjoy some of these if they're sweet. Let's see. All right. I don't know if you can see, there's a strawberry here. This is a Gaviota strawberry. Very good. This is the best time for strawberry because with the way the climate is lined up, they really do well in coastal areas where the ambient temperature is cool, but there's sunlight, and they make them very sweet and flavorful. And that's I miss those kinds of strawberries. So I grow them here because to get those, you have to go to a specific place, Harry's Berries. They grow the old school ones, and I don't get out there at all to get them, so I grow them. But yeah, if you grew up in the 90s in Southern California, you will remember how strawberries really tasted. Sweet, flavorful, kind of soft. These days they're hard and bland, so you have to add sugar to them. Here it is. It's acidic. I would say tart, not sour. Not sweet yet. Could be sweeter. Maybe we'll wait a week or two. But the thing about the Moro is that it has a very nice raspberry kind of flavor to it. And I think they start to market these as like raspberry oranges or something because blood kind of creeps people out. I think they call them raspberry oranges or something. You can tell me if you know off the top of your head in the comments. This is really good. Let's see here. I'm going to use this paper here that I left here as a way to protect the fruit. I should have took some peel and put it up there instead of dropping it around so we could protect the fruit. Because in the interest of time, I don't want to take up your time eating that on camera. So I thought of something. I thought of a trick, which is to use this to cover the napkin so that we have a smoother transition. And then I'll come back, pull it back, and then you can get some TV magic with the finger lime. All right, I think I overdid it because I got 2. All right, this one is a little bit lighter in color. So I'm not sure if it's further along in terms of maturity. So let's look at it together. One thing I've noticed about finger limes is they don't keep well. So when you pick them, they start to really dehydrate the skin. So that's why they're more of a specialty fruit and cost a little bit more. Let's see if that's enough to open it. So that's what they look like inside. And they're also known as caviar lime because you get these little pulpy, almost like snail eggs. They have a nice pulpy texture. And when you squeeze lime, sometimes you get the little pulpy parts. And when you put it in something like a nuoc num, which is a Vietnamese vinaigrette dressing, sometimes you get that and it pops in your mouth. It's got that nice quality. So this is your finger lime. And that tree my brother gave me because the same thing that happened to our calamansi happened to him, where we went camping and his irrigation didn't work. And so the tree died all the way back, and this a little portion grew back, and luckily the fruit quality portion grew back into the tree. So it's been, I think, maybe 3 or 4 years, and it's now finally fruiting, and there's a good amount of fruit. So I think that's all the citrus that we have growing. I'm looking forward to adding the gold nugget to our grove, and hopefully that'll be this year. We can graft it on there. As far as space to buy another citrus tree and put it down, I guess eventually we can if we terrace more of the hill. And as I'm pointing back there and thinking about citrus trees, there's another one that I always forget to show you. So let's walk over there, and then we'll end this video. All right, let's turn it around. I don't necessarily think that you want to see my face that close. The reason I always forget to show it is that it's in the back corner here, and it's been in a container. It's the Mato Bhutan Pomelo, and that is grafted onto a seed-grown rootstock. I think it was one my brother grew, or it might be one that I grew from my late dad's Valencia orange. And we got fruit this year. I'm trying to see if I chucked it over here, because there were fruit that were really small, and I left it on there and didn't get around to eating it. So where'd it go? Nope, can't find it. Oh, there it is. Here's the fruit. These were really small. It's a premium pomelo variety in Taiwan, I believe, and Japan. And it's much bigger. And I didn't catch the fruit because normally I thin it out. I was actually wanting to just get one fruit to try, and it produced a lot more. But what happens is when you have a lot and there's not enough resources, you get a lot of small ones. So that's what it is. So hopefully next time we can do a dedicated video on taste testing it, the fruit. All right, that's gonna be it today. We're also excited about the new growing gear. So on this channel, I do a lot of produce growing as well. And in the spirit of homesteading, I got to a point where we can grow most of our produce. I purchased quite a few from the market now, and that's through succession growing. So we eat a lot of Asian vegetables like ailan and bok choy. We eat a lot of broccoli and cauliflower. I figured out how to grow broccoli and cauliflower year-round here in Southern California. That's through succession growing. So succession varieties of fruit. Strawberries are in succession. We got some different varieties of blueberries that I'm trying to establish, and each variety comes in at different times of the year, so succession there. Avocados I mentioned earlier, and all sorts of things. Mostly this is a show and tell kind of channel, and eventually I hope to be able to share some methods, but I want to protect those methods right now because they're my intellectual property. But at some point, if I can find a way to protect it without having it stolen, I'll share more of it. So again, this is mostly show and tell, and there are other growers out there that use variety information to also build their collection. So I'm glad you're here as well. All right, until the next video, which probably will be a vegetable garden tour, I'll see you then. And as always, thanks for coming out and visiting me here. This is a urban homestead spirited property, so we're always working on improving it, but it's also a working mess. And so I wanted to share some of that, some of the behind the scenes kind of stuff. And hopefully eventually everything will be settled and it'll look a little bit nicer. All right, until the next one, have a wonderful day and happy gardening.